faith, and Jason broke the thing down, and Maya broke the thing down, and Earl broke the thing down, and I forget who the last person was, but everybody had something to say about what faith is. And the topic tonight is in seasons of doubt. Of course, it makes sense that when we're talking about seasons of doubt, we really need to understand just what is that faith that we have to cling on to. Because when things get real, things come out. And those things that come out aren't always the most beautiful things, aren't always the most lovely things, but sometimes they're the most necessary things for us to be who God wants us to be. Let's pray. Father, as we go into this conversation, just this rap session about what it is to have faith in you, Lord, I pray that you will just touch everyone's heart, that you will just speak to each and every one of us, Lord, and as you explain what it is that you desire for us to have, help us to trust that if you speak it into our lives, it is so. We thank you and we praise you. In the matchless name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. So the truth is, we can just read Hebrews 11:1 and go home. Right? What is faith? Well, the Bible actually defines faith in a reasonable way. It says faith is, you can read with me, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We'll pause there for a second. That's it. That's what it is. It's the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. What does it mean to be the substance of things hoped for? This is an open discussion. I'll take anything. What does it mean to be the substance of things hoped for? What does it mean to be the substance of anything? Especially things hoped for. Right? Paul chooses these words for a reason. He says it's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. We'll just leave that out there. Let's go to verse 2. It says, for by it the elders obtained a good report. And verse 3. I want y'all to read that. Let me ask you a quick question, a reading comprehension question. Do we understand and then have faith? Or is it by faith that we understand? According to verse 11:3. Okay, so it's by faith that we actually have understanding. And this winds up being a challenge for a lot of us, because a lot of times we want to understand. We think if we understand, then we'll have the faith. But the scripture doesn't say that. It says, through faith, we understand. Right? And so we're talking about seasons of doubt where you don't understand. Right? Because you're doubting. By definition, if you're doubting, there's something that's not clear to you. You have some level of misunderstanding or lack of understanding in your life. So you're trying to understand something, and it is natural for us to think, because we are rational human beings and God has given us a mind, that we can just wrap our heads around it, we can understand this thing, and there are certain things that Paul is trying to explain to us that the understanding only comes through the faith process. And so we're going to talk about seasons of doubt. We're going to talk about what this thing means. Sam, can you go back to 11:1 for a quick second? Because while 11:3 is deep, 11:1 really is the foundation of everything. You can start the presentation. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. I really want you to run that in your mind. The substance of things hoped for. Next slide. Quick note, today is Valentine's Day. I know we're not talking about it, but let's not pretend we don't live in a world where people celebrate Valentine's Day. It can be a frustrating day for a lot of people, right? Or it can be an empowering day. But a lot of times, thank you. A lot of times, we look at people and we say, how irrational that people make decisions about the quality of their relationship, the quality of their life, the quality of a lot of things based on their status on one day out of the year. But if we're being really honest with ourselves, there are times when we look at our spiritual relationship and we go, I'm not where I need to be, or I'm not at this place, and we make irrational decisions too. And so I just hope that, because you don't know what people are going through, what people are suffering from. This might trigger somebody right now, and that's not a joke. Like, we need to understand that, like, this is a real need that people have, and the desire that God has put in their hearts. Testing? Okay. I gotta hold it higher. Amen. I'm gonna lift it higher. All right. Amen. We're gonna work with it. Like that. Oh, higher. Okay. Learning. Didn't know this. And so I just want us to remember that we aren't better than people out there. We make irrational decisions all the time too. I have friends who get up here and go, my relationship isn't that good. My boyfriend only bought me like a $50 item or something like that. And someone else is like, I'd be happy to have a $50 item. And someone else is like, stop complaining. But at the end of the day, I think God wants you to really understand that what makes him happy is that we understand that all these things are temporary. We all know what this is. This is what we talked about. It's a nice little thing. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We're going to do a quick quiz. You're going to put your hands up. We want to know what you think. So it says faith is the substance of things hoped for. And so in this terrible PowerPoint drawing that I made, I'm not an artist, bear with me, you see two drawings. Do you think that when faith is the substance of things hoped for, that you have faith, you have hope, and then because you have hope that's below the surface, the substance, the thing you can touch, is faith? Or do you think it's like faith is the soil, and then as you lift up, you get hope? Or do you think hope and faith run in some terrible circle? My PowerPoint runs so back. But how do people understand how faith, hope, and relate? Because Jesus Christ says faith, hope, and charity, these three things. These three things are related. So what is the relationship between them if these things are related? Since we're talking about relationship with Christ, we have a relationship with each other. How do people understand 11:1 and think of how faith and hope are related? I'm not saying right or wrong answers. I just want to know what people are feeling or thinking when they read faith is the substance of things hoped for. How does this go silent now? This guy, quick. How many people think it's the first one? It's okay, don't be shy. Like, as Adventists, we gotta stop being scared to be wrong. For real. Alright, how many people think it's the second one? A few more hands. How many people didn't put their hands up? You can put your hands up now. It's cool. Amen. Amen. We don't know, right? And it's okay to not know. But I think one of the things that's important is that every once in a while, to really understand what a verse says, we have to go back to the original language. What language did Paul write this in? Paul wrote this in Greek. Right? You good? You good? You turn the all button on. Good. So, what you see here is the BibleHub.com interlinear version written in Greek of Hebrews 11:1. I advise you every once in a while, if you ever go to the interlinear version, it's useful. You notice that Greek construction doesn't work the same way as English construction, but all the words are there. You see, is now faith of things hoped for, the substance of things, the evidence not being seen. It's the order of things, but all the words that you know are here. Okay, we're going to focus on two words in particular. The first word we're going to focus on is in the first part, substance. Right? Because we said faith is a substance of things hoped for, the hypostasis of things hoped for. This word is pronounced hypostasis in English, but it's pronounced in Greek hypostasis. And it comes from a Greek root, Greek upo, under, and stasis, standing. In fact, if you Google the word hypostasis right now, as it's written in English, you'll find the following definition on the trustable website Wikipedia, which is that hypostasis is the underlying state or underlying substance and is the fundamental reality that supports everything else. Hypostasis is the understanding, the undergirding, like the foundation, like the base of, like the support of everything. And so when you read faith is the substance of things hoped for, in English you think, well, I hope, and then the substance of my hope is faith. But in Greek, Paul makes it very clear, faith is the basis, faith is the essence, faith is the reality. There's this idea that you have to believe in order for faith to exist. Faith already is. It is the essential reality. And so when you are functioning in the Christian world, you don't have to worry about whether there's enough faith in the situation happens. Faith is the essential reality of the world that we live in. The only thing you have to do is connect to it. All you have to do is be willing. This is the essence of things hoped for. This is the undergirding. You can't have hope if there weren't faith. But because there is faith and you never have to question it, you can hope for things. Which is why Jesus Christ says faith, hope, agape, in that order. Faith already is. Because of faith, you can hope. And if you can hope in Jesus Christ, then you can learn how that agape love. We'll come back for it. The second word is really important. I really want people to understand that because a lot of times, like, we say it's not a works-based gospel. We say it's a faith-based gospel, but we act like faith is a work. We act like I have to work to have faith. I have to believe. I have to do these things in order for faith to happen. Faith is already out there. Faith is the reason. Like it says, by faith we understand that things are, even though they're through things that were not. God could say, let there be light, and it's light because God understood that by faith he could just say it. And the thing that's not seen can be seen because he speaks it into existence. It's a fundamental part of his life. It's like if I come through and is it on? This is on now, right? If I turn it off, does the electron cease to exist? No. Why is it off? Because you turn it off. Because all you have to do to turn off a connection is interrupt one point in that line. Right? The electrons still flow. There's nothing stopping them. The wire is still there. But the only reason you don't get light in that situation is because some little part of the system, usually us, turn it off. All you have to do is go back over there. You're gonna go walk. I need you to walk. You can exercising. Go back over there. Turn it on. And the same thing that was already there produces a different result in your life. You see something different. And it is something different. But all you needed for it to happen was already there the entire time. The second part of the verse, because I really think the Greek is deep. I really do. I don't want to turn it into like a Greek lesson, but I think the Greek really has extra value. The second word is the word evidence, elenkos. All right, exactly. Good old Greek with long words. So in elenkos, when we say the evidence, the Greek doesn't quite call it the evidence. It's like the rebuttal. It's like the refuting. It's like the cross-examination. It's like the thing that when you don't see it, and you're like, gee, Sarah, you mad old, and you don't have a baby. By faith, it's the rebuttal of the things that aren't seen. Sarah, like Abraham and Sarah, you're not going to Listen. By God's grace, I ain't worried about it. But like, it's the thing that rebuts. When things happen in your life and God doesn't answer things right away, a lot of times we don't even talk about other people. We do it to ourselves. Well, I don't have this thing, and I've been praying for this thing, and I want this thing, but this thing hasn't happened in my life, and so I guess God doesn't want this thing to happen, and I don't understand why this happened. Let's be honest, the biggest critic of our own shortcomings is ourselves. I mean, we can talk about what other people talk about us, but if we're being honest, we doubted ourselves more times than anyone else has, so I don't know why we're mad at other people. But we're reminded that faith is the rebuttal of things not seen. We can trust that even though we don't see it, and it hasn't happened yet, because faith is, I don't have to worry about it. It's coming. And I can move forward, not worried about what I haven't seen, knowing that because faith is, I can move forward and know that that thing will happen. Literally in Genesis 17, Abraham and Sarah are told they're going to have a baby. Abraham is 99 years old. He falls on his face and laughs. And says, like, really? My wife is old. Like, we're going to have a baby. And so God, because he has a sense of humor, has him name his son Isaac, which means laughter. Because you laughed at him. And sure enough, in a year's time, Sarah has that baby. And that baby is the father of many nations. Sarah herself says, oh Lord, may Ishmael be the one through who you have this blessing. And we have to remember sometimes that, like, I love how God just doesn't deal with us in that way. Like, we think that because it hasn't happened in the way we thought it was going to happen, that this is the way that it needs to happen. Like, can Ishmael just be blessed? Or can you go through my handmaid to have it? Or can we do all these other things? And sometimes God is like, you know what? I told you what I told you, because I meant it the way I said it. You just gotta wait long enough to see it happen. But what happens is, we faithful for a minute, we faithful for an hour, we're even faithful for a day. But let some years come. Some years come. And then what happens? Well, I'm sure it's God's will. So if it's God's will, then I'm justified in doing these things to bring about God's will in my life. I never told you to go and say, hey, Abraham, that was never part of the plan. But even then, God was merciful. Even then, God said, because even though you did things your way, I'm still going to make you the father of many nations. I'm still going to bless you. I need us to understand that faith is already there. God says, without faith, it's impossible to please Him. And it's not so much like, it's not an us thing. It's a willingness to connect to Him thing. All we have to do is allow ourselves to be rooted in the soil or connected to the wire. And then it doesn't matter. Right? Once I'm connected, once I'm grounded in God, you can run all sorts of current through me and it's fine. But if I'm not grounded and you try to touch something that's live, and the electrician's in the house, what happens? You probably die, right? And if you're not grounded in your plan, because I was a kid in the South, I used to grow up like farming. If you don't properly, put the seed far enough below the ground, what happens? It springs up and dies, right? And so we want things, but we don't want to be rooted. And I think I'm really happy that God gives us doubt. I really, really am, because as much as I don't like doubt, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, we don't understand. Doubt is the thing that drives us to be rooted. I think a lot of times in the Christian church, we think of doubt as like a terrible thing. Like, why do you doubt? And doubt is a bad thing. And there are certain times when God is asking us to just believe and not doubt. But I also need us to understand that God places us in situations where we can doubt, so that we can really ask the question, do we really believe that faith is the substance, the basis of things hoped for, the rebuttal of things not seen? Because it's only under doubt. It's only in situations. If I tell you, you're going to go home tomorrow, y'all done that 100,000 times. That's easy. But if God says, I have a purpose and a calling for your life that is something so spectacular, and it hasn't happened now, you really have to understand this. When you see other people who you don't understand how things are happening for their life and things hasn't happened for your life, you really now have to understand this. When other people come up and remind you of all the things you haven't done or don't have or told us that you were going to have but still don't have now you really got to understand, do you really, really believe this? Or is this this nice scripture that we go home and talk about, but we don't really want to live? Faith is the foundation, it's the undergirding of every hope that we have. And so when we lose faith, we lose everything. And so that's why it's so important to have faith in the midst of doubt. I want us to... Sam, go ahead and... This is done. Go ahead and let's put up the scriptures. I want to look at one of my favorite people in the Bible, Simon Peter. I love Simon Peter because he's a lot. He is. But look at the difference between when Peter is faithful and when Peter is in a different place. Luke chapter 5. And it came to pass as as the people pressed upon him, Jesus, to hear the word of God, and he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw two ships standing by the lake, but the fishermen were gone out of them because they were washing their nets. And he entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. Now when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch out into the deep, and let your nets down for a draught. And Simon answered, saying unto him, Master, we've toiled all night and taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the net. And when they had this done, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and the net brake. And they beckoned unto their partners which were in the other ship that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both the ships so that they began to sink. And Simon Peter saw it, and he did what? Fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. Peter is out here washing his nets, minding his own business. And Jesus Christ sees ships and goes into the ship that's Peter's and says, why don't you just launch me out a little bit? And Peter has to choose to even just go away from his net. And he's like, all right, I'll go out. I'll do the nice thing. And as he goes out with Jesus, he's on the boat while Jesus is preaching, and he's hearing this. Right? Peter is now hearing the words of Jesus Christ. And after he's finished speaking, he's thinking he's going to bring him back into land. But Jesus has a different plan for Peter. He says, I got to take you out a little further. I need you to go all the way out into the water. And I need you to let down your net. And I need you to, I understand. Jesus already knows that you toiled all night last night when you last time you were around the water and you would catch nothing. But I need you to go out this time, and I need you to let down that net and trust that if I tell you, if I bring you into the same place to let down that net, that not only are you not going to find nothing, you're going to find so much stuff that even your homeboy ship is going to sink from all these fish. And so Peter does the thing that Jesus asked him to do, despite the fact that last night, the last time he did it, nothing happened. Despite the fact that he doesn't understand what's going on, he goes with them and he has the experience. And when Peter has the experience, Peter falls down at Jesus' feet, looks at his knees and says, "Depart from me. I'm not worthy of this. I can't handle this. I myself am not. I know what you're trying to do. I've never seen this before. I know this is you, God. And I'm not the kind of person who can go through with the calling." Because sometimes God calls us into things that, if we're being honest, we try to make up every excuse for why we can't do it. Right? We do the Moses thing. I'm a slow speech. My brother speaks better. And he says, "I'm a sinful man, O Lord." Next verse. "For he was astonished at all who were with him, and at the draught which they had taken." Verse 10. Yes. "And also were James and John and the sons of Zebedee with them. And Jesus said unto Simon, Fear not, for from henceforth thou shalt catch men." Your purpose is now here. Boom. You want to be a fisher. This is what you want to do in your life. So Peter goes through the whole book and does what he's got to do. Let's go to Matthew, the Matthew scriptures. Now, we're near Jesus' death. Peter has been with Jesus 3+ years. He's learned a lot. He's the one who confessed that Jesus was the Christ. Amen. Jesus said, "On this rock I will build this church." Amen. Verse 31, then Jesus said unto him, "All y'all," not some of you, "all y'all shall be offended because of me this night. For it's written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of flock shall be scattered abroad." All right, he said all y'all, right? "But after I'm risen again, I will go before you into Galilee." Peter, who has now had experiences, has walked on water with Jesus Christ, has seen all the miracles that Jesus has done, has been called to be a fisher of men, has trusted Jesus when Jesus said, "Go out into the deep and cast your net again." Jesus tells him, "All y'all be offended from me." And what does Peter say? "Though all men shall be offended because of me, yet I will never, not occasionally, like never." The Greek word here used never is actually like never ever. Like it's not even never. There's like levels of never in Greek, and this is like never ever be offended. This is faithful Peter, right? This is the same Peter who sees Jesus. This is when Jesus says, "Cast a demon out of a man," the demon comes out. Peter's seen this. So when Jesus says, "All y'all be offended," what's this? Verse 34. Jesus said unto him, "Verily I say unto you that this night, before the cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times." We all know what happens. I need us to understand that Jesus knows us better than we know ourselves. Like, for real. And so when he says what he's called us to do, he's not calling us to it because he doesn't know the characters that we have or the character that we don't have. He's calling us to this thing because he needs us to understand that only through these situations will we really understand what it is to trust and be rooted in God. That Peter can say, "Though I should die with thee, yet I will deny thee." Mind you, this is after he already said, like, what did Jesus say in verse 34? Go back a verse. I'll just leave Jesus' words up there. Because Jesus already said you're all going to be offended, and Peter said, "I'm not going to be offended." And then Jesus said, "You're going to deny me," you specifically, not all y'all, you Peter, "you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter's response in verse 35 is, "Nah." Nah. Peter went from, "I can't even be in your presence, you're too holy for me, get away from me," when he didn't have an experience with God, to, "I heard what Jesus said, but I'm the Apostle Peter, so I'm not going to do the thing that Jesus says I'm going to do because I know me better than God knows me." And I need us to understand as Christians sometimes, like, we do this to God. We really do, like we forget that. I'm speaking for me, like I was in the club party on Friday night, like not that 10 years ago, I wouldn't be here. I'd be out partying right now. And there are times back then, if Jesus Christ came to me, I'd be like, okay, Jesus, whatever you need. And now you come to the church and you get established, and Jesus tries to tell you this is what your calling in life is going to be. And we act like, no, we know the Lord's will. This is not the Lord's will for my life, and I'm just going to keep going on and doing my own thing. And we think this isn't doubt. We think this is like us being strong in our own understanding and being wise. Do we have verse 36? If not, it's cool. I said no. All right, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. That's my bad. No, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, you know, Jesus just goes to praise for them because Jesus knows. Jesus knows. He's just like, then comes Jesus into a place called Gethsemane and says to the disciples, sit here while I go pray. You know, he probably figured an extra prayer for Peter. I love how Jesus' way of dealing with our nonsense is not to be like, you're going to do what I'm going to say. Right? Peter's way of dealing with it is, I'm going to do this. And Jesus is like, I'm just going to go pray for you. Right? And I need us to understand that Jesus is still, even when we don't follow him, even when we have those moments in our life where we're just like, you know, God, I don't know what you want from me, or what you want from me is what I really don't want for myself. That there are times when Jesus is just like, you know what, I'm just gonna give you time with this, and you're gonna have experiences. And when you have those experiences, you're gonna see, and then you're gonna believe. I remember thinking of, everyone knows about Doubting Thomas, and you know, Thomas has this issue where Jesus Christ comes back, and he reveals himself to all the disciples except Thomas. And he's like, hey, Jesus was here. And they all give him, all his friends, all people he trusts, give him eyewitness testimony from themselves of how they saw Jesus and how it was real. And Thomas's response is like, well, because this means that my earthly kingdom of Israel can't be restored, and because Jesus didn't come to me personally, and he went to my friends, now maybe I'm feeling a way about my spiritual walk with Jesus, and I'm not going to believe what they say until I get the same treatment as that person got. Even though that wasn't Thomas's calling. Thomas's calling was to be so faithful that he hadn't seen Jesus and still believed anyway. But Thomas was like, nah, I want the same status as other people because that's what they have. So I'm not going to believe until I can put my hand in his side. And of course, Jesus comes through 8 days later and shows up and says, you know, go ahead and put your hand in my side. Don't be faithless, be believing. Yeah. Your calling is unique. Your calling is God's ordained calling on your life. And there are times in your life where you're going to have to doubt. The enemy will try and sow doubt in your mind. And there are times in your life where God will allow that doubt to happen. That is an okay and normal thing. What is not okay is to forget that there is always, that faith is the foundation of everything. That at the end of the day, when you have a doubt in your mind, you can always remember that the same way that light turns on because those electrons are always there, the same way that there's air here that I can breathe even though I don't see it, all I have to do is connect to God and trust that he is, that is the foundation of everything, and that whatever he's called into my life will come to happen. I don't say that because of someone else's experience. I'll end quickly with a testimony of mine. Most of you heard the testimony I have about being on a beach in San Francisco like 10 years ago, and God, and I was in a place where I was like, I can't, this party thing isn't working for me, Jesus, I need something else in my life. And I had a conversation with the Holy Spirit, where the Holy Spirit was like, do you trust me? And I was like, yeah, sure, kind of. And then this thing of water comes, and I have shoes on, and my shoes are going to get wet. And so I hear the Holy Spirit be like, just let the water run over your feet. And I see the water, and I'm like, nah, fam, these are good shoes. So my friend comes over, and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, I think I just talked to God. I think he wanted me to get my feet in the water. So we're talking. You know, you have to have that friend who you can be like fully crazy in front of and just be okay with it. Find that person. Amen. The water comes again. And my friend is literally like, yo, get out of the water. And he's walking away. And at that moment, I'm just like, I'm so tired of walking away from the water. There's been so much, nothing good ever happened. So I just stayed. And I got my feet wet. And they got wet, you know, and then I had to go dry them. But even in that moment, I went to the laundromat across the street. And I went to open a washer or a dryer, and there was just $20 in there. And it was God's way of being like, I got you. Wow. So we had a relationship, and it's been wonderful, and we're growing. And then about 2.5 years ago, I go out to San Francisco again to see my friend. And everything is like good in my life at the time. And for one day, I'm leaving San Francisco and I'm going out to like Big Sur in the south where it's beautiful. And I go for the day and I go to the beach. And the Holy Spirit's like, get in the water. And if you've ever been to the Pacific, you know it's cold. So like, get in the water was always like. So I go, because it's cold. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go back into town for lunch. And so I'm driving out of the town. I'm in Half Moon Bay. And I'm driving out. And my friend Mike calls and he's like, the person we're meeting for early dinner is late. We're gonna be 2 or 3 hours late. You can stay at Half Moon Bay. So I'm like, let me get as much beach time as I can. So I go back to Half Moon Bay. I put my little blanket towel down, and the Holy Spirit's like, get in the water. Because everyone has their own little relationship with Jesus Christ. His with me is a little more like, he's like pull you by the scruff of your neck, you're gonna do it. And so I walk in the water. The water was as cold as I remember it. I'm like, okay, Lord, I got my feet in the water. And he's like, go further out. I'm like, okay. Go further out. Okay, it's like up to my knees. Go further out. Okay, it's up to my waist. People looking at me like, you know this ocean has a current, right? You will get dragged out there. They're looking at me like, people don't go out this far. All right, Lord, how much further do you want me to go? All right, keep going. All right, keep going. All right, it's like, it's here. It's here. I'll move back. It's here. It's up to like shoulder, like top of the shoulder. And God's like, all right, pause. Okay, people are looking at me like, what's this cat doing? And you can feel the undertow trying to pull you out into the ocean. And I'm like, God, what do you want me to do? And the Holy Spirit is like, just stand there. And as I stand there and I look out, I see big wave after big wave. Every wave looks like, oh man, I'm gonna get swept out into the ocean. And by the time it gets close to me, it would be like the water would just go from like here to like here. And then another big wave would come and I'm like, oh, that's the one that's gonna, it would be like here. And this happened like 20 times, and then at last this really big wave comes, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. 20 waves is a good run. And it shows up, and it gets to like my nose, and hovers there, and then it comes back down. And then I hear the Holy Spirit say, in this season, I need you to know that the waves will come, but they will not overtake you. But you must stay in the water. The first time I stood on the beach, the water came to me. The second time the Holy Spirit was clear. You have to stay in the water this time. I didn't know what was going to happen in my life at that point. That night, I had fallen out with my best friend. 6 months later, my new friend committed suicide. My mother I found out she was diagnosed with cancer. And as many of you in the church know, she passed away last June. And there were times when I was going through it where I would be like, Lord, what is going on? I'm down, like, am I crazy? What is all this going on? But I would remember what I heard on the beach, which is that this is crazy, but it's not going to overtake you. You want to talk about seasons of doubt? Your Father in heaven died on the cross. His last words were, my God, why have you forsaken me? You think he doesn't understand what you're going through? You think loneliness and abandonment is something he can't understand? You think it's something he can't fathom? You think there's anything about the perfect life that you have that Jesus Christ isn't intimately aware of and wants you to disconnect with him and grow with him and allow yourself to be blown and twisted in the wind? Because when you're blown and twisted in the wind, you know that the rooting that you have is sure. There were days when I would wake up and say, how is this happening to me? How do people... Honestly, when my mom passed away, there were days where I woke up and I'm like, I don't think I ever want to love again because it hurts so much to lose someone. I don't think I ever want to do that because I don't want to ever have to feel this. But I'm really grateful that my church community prayed for me. I'm really grateful that God is so G. Like, I opened up my Bible, like, I admit, I opened up my Bible the day my mom passed. And the next morning I got up and I was like, all right, I gotta open this Bible. Lord, let me see what you got to say to me. And he gives me Matthew 7. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. And I hear the Holy Spirit say, keep going. And if I'm being 100, that was not the news I wanted at that moment in time. One of those like, comforting, here you go, Curtis, you good. I'm waiting for like one of like the, let's give you a big hug messages. And he's like, you got to keep going. And it's not always, I'm not going to sit there and be like, it's always the most comfortable thing. But he tells you the thing that you need to hear and needed to keep going, because you never know what your testimony, what your faith, what your grounding is going to do for somebody else. Because at the end of the day, God is trying to, He wants that none should be lost. And so a lot of times we look at our doubt from our own perspective, from our own abandonment, from our own brokenness, from our own, why do we have to go through it? Not thinking that Jesus Christ died that none should perish, but all should have everlasting life. And that Jesus Christ told us that anyone who follows Him must suffer persecution and suffer challenges. But we're so caught up in our pain that we forget about the fact that God is trying to use doubt in the form of pain, in the form of anything, to remind us that He is still here. And so when those seasons of doubt come, I've started to learn to praise Him. Those challenges come, not because anyone really wants to go through them if they're being honest. I'm not going to be like, oh, gee, a difficult season. I don't think anyone really likes that. But I do think that they force you to realize in whom you live and have your being. That they really do force you to go forward. And so I challenge people, if you're doubting anything, if you're doubting your spiritual life, if you're doubting your work relationship, if you're doubting your love life, if you're doubting your financial situation, if you're doubting your children, if you're doubting whether you have children, if you're doubting whether you'll be a good parent, I don't care what it is. I just want you to remember that God still desires to bring you through intimately. He wants these situations to know that He's holding your hand the entire time. I really believe the only thing that stopped me from getting sucked out of the Pacific Ocean was God. Because that current was but He's trying to teach us that when we stand on His foundation, we cannot be moved. You may be tossed, you may be turned, you may be swayed, but you will not be moved. And so I counsel you really to just trust God. To understand that it's as a scientist, we're wrong all the time. We hypothesize and then we're wrong. It's okay to have doubt. You're going to be wrong sometimes. But God will be with you and He will reveal Himself in the fullness of time. By faith, we understand that the things that are were made from things that were not. Not the other way around. It's not the things that you see that cause the things that you don't see. It's the things that you don't see that will bring about the things that you see. And you always talk about the things that you want in terms of things that you see. People always talk about how they want material possessions but they don't realize that it's the things that you don't see that form those things. And so my plea is very simple. That you just allow yourself to be moved as the Holy Spirit wants you to be moved. Even especially if that's an uncomfortable place. Because that's the only way to grow. I'm being real. If the things that happen to me now had happened to me 12 years ago when I was in the club, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But I realize now that when I see people going through challenges, that I can still remind them, and they're like, how can you still pray to God? And I'm like, because He's been so good. Because He answers the prayers that need to be answered, you know? We pray for selfish things. I'll be honest, I prayed for my mom to this week. Hey, Mom, can you just let her live, Lord? I think that was an unreasonable prayer. And I prayed, 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 and not one time did I hear a positive answer from God, except the one time I was like, Lord, I am so much in anguish. If you gotta take her, but just make sure she's okay with you. And that was the only prayer where God was like, all right, Curtis, I heard you. Because at the end of the day, it's not my choice to make. It's not my will. It's not my kingdom in heaven to give to anyone. Sometimes He answers the prayer in a better way than you would want. Who knows? I would have wanted to live and have no idea what could have happened after that. And I would have got the temporary, and it wouldn't have been the eternal. And so I don't want to get up here and be like, all of your answers are going to be answered in the way that you see. But by faith, we will understand. Amen. You don't have to understand. You're not supposed to understand right now. You're supposed to trust. You're supposed to be rooted. You're supposed to allow that connection to take place. And as you go through the process, you will understand. So if it is your desire to just let God move in your life, through your doubts, through your disappointments, through that place where you feel like you can't go to again, if God's calling you to that place again and you know who you are, you need to name any names. I just want you to stand and I want to pray for you.